Pete Alonso gets the three-peat for the home run derby. Not a hard call.
I'll take the field. You got Alonso.
Nice.
All right?
All right.
Put something on it, side bet?
I will see.
Good morning. It is time to get up with the NBA offseason, which is officially off the rails. Another superstar is suddenly on the market. Where will he land? Meanwhile, Gronk says he has spiked for the last time. Does he mean it? And if so, what does it mean for his BFF, Tom Brady? And then we'll tell you why LeBron's last best chance at another ring may just have disappeared right before his eyes. All that and more as we get up with you starting right now on a Wednesday, jam-packed. Chris Canty has made his way into the studio. We got a lot to get to today, Canty, and that's not all. We put together a squad for you today. Although Hoops Talk is coming fast and furious. Windy is ready. Friedel is ready. Diana's dishing. Acho is somewhere interesting looking. We'll figure out where that is as we get rolling. But we begin with the big news from the NBA. Late yesterday afternoon, Woj tweeting that the Utah Jazz are now listening to trade offers for All-Star guard Donovan Mitchell. Woj following that up by tweeting, the asking price appears to be steep. But in the wake of Utah's recent Rudy Gobert blockbuster deal to Minnesota, the Jazz are no longer simply dismissing calls on Mitchell. That brings us to our NBA insiders. We got Windy. We got Friedel ready to go. Windy, so you got a couple of very interesting little scenarios here that we can get into as far as Donovan Mitchell is concerned. One of them is complicated, but it is well worth the journey. What one is that?
Yeah, so the Jazz are presenting the face that they are sort of wading into the Donovan Mitchell trade discussion. The league, though, believes that they're in at their chest and eventually are going to trade him. And that leaves us with a fascinating scenario that's developing in the league. Right now, we have 4 teams looking to potentially get in on big-time transactions, and we got 4 players out there that could be involved in them. And so the question is, could this now with the Jazz actually presenting that they're willing to deal Mitchell, is there a deal to be done with these 4 teams? Can they come together and do this? And those 4 teams would be the Phoenix Suns, who we know are interested in Kevin Durant. The Indiana Pacers, who have been trying to do a DeAndre Ayton transaction, which has now been slowed by this, but they're interested in Ayton. The Utah Jazz, obviously, they have Mitchell in the game. And the Nets, who have Kevin Durant, potentially Kyrie Irving, but for the sake of this, Kevin Durant. The important thing about Donovan Mitchell is that he cannot be on the same team as Ben Simmons. So if there's a trade that happens with Donovan Mitchell ending up in Brooklyn, Ben Simmons would have to go out. So, Greeny, I could give you a whiteboard on this and explain how all this works. It's hard for 4 people to agree on where to go to dinner, especially how to put together a trade like this to get together. I'm a little bit skeptical that it would actually be executed, but I have to acknowledge that there is a workable solution that all those could get what they wanted. And a good factor in this is that Indiana, who I mentioned, has cap space. And so they can sort of be a leveraging point in addition to getting DeAndre Ayton. So we're going to watch to see if that can be put together. I'm skeptical. That leaves the other potential option that presents itself for Donovan Mitchell if that doesn't happen, and that is the New York Knicks. Now, in the trade for Rudy Gobert, the Jazz basically showed what their strategy is. They took back role players on expiring contracts to get 4 first-round picks in that deal. The New York Knicks have 8 tradable first-round picks and a need and a desire for a star player like Donovan Mitchell, who is from the New York area. Some people believe that this is an inevitability. It's just a matter of what price can be negotiated. Other teams are interested in Mitchell, and it could go a different direction. They could keep Mitchell, or at least posture they're going to keep Mitchell. But I think we're going to hear a lot about Donovan Mitchell and the New York Knicks in the coming days.
Okay, yeah. The New York Post, by the way, has already gone there. Chrissy, let's put it up. The New York Post already has Donovan Mitchell headed to New York, and not only does the Post, but I can tell you that right now, wherever he is on his vacation, Stephen A. Smith is losing his mind, having sat next to him all NBA season long. This is his dream moment come true. One way or another, though, Friedel, take me through this here, because we see the possibilities, and anytime you ask Windy the question, what's going on in Utah, everyone has to move forward a little bit and listen closely for the answer. But there are a lot of moving pieces in the air here, Friedel. Help us sort some of it out.
The key to me, Greeny, is this is the deal for Miami to make. I spent a lot of time in the postseason with the Heat. they got bogged down offensively. It was either Jimmy Butler or nothing. Donovan Mitchell would take pressure off of Jimmy, and he would get the offense to move a little bit more. What's even more crucial, you don't have to give up as much to get Donovan Mitchell as you potentially would for Kevin Durant. So Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, a boatload of picks, whatever it takes for Miami to get Mitchell, that makes a lot of sense because he gives them the other scorer to go to late. So I know it would fit with the Knicks, and I know Tibbs is losing his own mind trying to figure out how to make it work. But to me, the fit is in Miami.
Okay, so a lot of different possibilities here. I agree with you on that one, the Miami piece of all of this. But let's go backwards now, Wendy. We had the Nets involved in all of that. And again, we put Ben Simmons on the screen there because he couldn't be on the same team with Donovan Mitchell. But really the moving pieces in Brooklyn are Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. If the Donovan Mitchell thing doesn't wind up resulting in their departure from Brooklyn, it certainly feels as though there is no momentum toward a trade. Could we be moving toward a place where they actually do what I said to you Monday they should, which is keep those guys together for one more season, try and run it back and win a title?
Boy, is that the vibe that is coming out of Brooklyn right now, that they are prepared to do that. This could be a negotiating position, or it could be a smart decision, Greeny. If you don't like the trade offers that you have, the market for Durant has not been as lucrative as the Nets were hoping, and the market for Kyrie is very thin. It's essentially the Lakers, and the trade offer isn't great. If you don't like what you have, do you just sort of close ranks and look at restarting it? There was a story in the New York Post yesterday citing a source next to Kyrie Irving saying that he wants to go back to Brooklyn. So I think as we watch this unfold and as Summer League kind of wraps up and the executives go home without any business potentially being done, I think the voice we'll look for is Kevin Durant. Because remember, this all started when Kevin Durant asked to be traded. It's not really up to Kyrie or the Nets for this saga to end. It's up to what Durant thinks, and he's under no obligation to say anything, but the last we heard from him is he asked for a trade. So, but I agree. There's just, even the Donovan Mitchell development, I think, opens up some more doors, but there was nothing momentum at all towards anything with the Nets, and they're look to be in retrench mode.
A quick correction. The last thing we heard from Kevin Durant was he was tweeting at the world how they added to their legacy yesterday. It was a fascinating day for Kevin Durant on social media, but having nothing to do with where he may wind up. So Friedel, let's remind everybody that you were around that Brooklyn Net team every day for the last 3 years, which candidly is more than Kyrie Irving can say. And so I would ask you, how about that possibility? It has felt to me like you have been skeptical of that all along.
Greeny, it would shock me if both guys came back.